Hi guys, I hope you all had a great week last week. I hope you enjoyed your weekend. I actually just got back from Indiana in time to film this and get it posted to you Tuesday morning. So, talk about gung ho, right? I still have stuff to catch up on, so I have to owe myself $5 now at this point. But we'll take care of that later, right? Thank you everybody for posting your pictures of your finished homework as you've been getting it done this past week. I'm always excited to see who's got that fire still lit underneath them. Okay, that's the worst thing to say, right? You guys are all, oh, is it done yet, Heather? Please let it be done. You're almost there. You're almost there. Okay. This week, clue number 5, we're going to start putting our blocks together into sets. Now, the first block you're going to make is called an old maid's puzzle. Why is it called that? I'm not sure. Somebody go look it up on the internet. Okay. I'm sure we'll find it somewhere. But to make the old maid's puzzle, what you're going to use is one of the dark 1 half square triangle 4-patch and the dark 2 half square triangle set. And you're going to join those together. Make sure when you're doing this that the full 3-inch squares are on this inner point. All right, so you see how you do not want this, you want this. All right, so make sure when you're arranging all your blocks to sew that this is how you are laying them out. You want to, don't mess this up, please, because you'll make a whole new block. I don't know what it'll be called then, but it'll be called something different. Okay, so once you've got that all put together, then you're going to go ahead and repeat this. So you'll end up with 40 sets total. And I'll go ahead and put these together here. Stitch my 1/4 inch. And when you press this, you want to press towards your dark 2 set. All right, so we're gonna go to the iron over here and we're gonna press towards dark 2. And I got out my big steam iron because now I'm dealing with some big blocks. All right, here's my second block. I'm gonna go ahead and stitch that one together also. And again, we're just doing our regular 1/4 inch seam allowance on these. Button says hello to any of you who have not been in the shop recently. All right, so I have my 2 sets here. I'm going to lay them out just like that. All right, so now I've got my 2 dark 2s pointing in towards each other. Bump that up so that your seam that you just created is right in the center there. And I always like to put my pin there to hold that in place. And then I'm going to go ahead and make sure my end is lined up and put a pin right there. Come up here to my start and put a pin right there. You can go ahead and prep all of your squares before going to your sewing machine and sewing them all together. And as you're sewing, let's make sure to watch that our seams are staying pressed in the correct direction. I'm kind of a stickler for, you know, my seam getting pressed over the opposite direction. When I'm sewing, I'll go back in there and pick it out and re-sew it. It always seems to drive me insane having that extra lump in there. All right, so now we've sewn those together. We're gonna go ahead and press that seam and press the block. All right, so this should now make a 12.5 inch square. You can double check it with your ruler, but you will have a total of 20 of the Old Maid's puzzle. All right, so that's the first step of the clue. The next step is going to be using all those flying geese that you put together. You have so many fun little flying geese, right? So we are going to arrange these into a nice little stack, all right? And if you take a look at the picture here, you'll see that we have the dark 2 light flying geese. I think this is how I've numbered them. Yep, dark 2 light flying geese is this one. My mistake, all right? Then you have your light and dark 1 flying geese. Then you have your dark 1 and light flying geese. And then your light, dark 2 flying geese. Did I put these in the right directions? There we go. All right, so you can see the arrangement here, all right? It kind of almost makes like arrows of your light going one direction. All right, so what I would recommend for this is go ahead and put these all together in a little stack next to you, all right? Start with one end or the other, however you are most comfortable with it, but you're going to take one, all right? I've got my dark 2 and light with my light dark 1. I'm going to lay these together and I'm going to stitch my 1/4 inch seam allowance. Go ahead and repeat that. Just do all of those units together at one time. It'll just go so much faster if you start string piecing them that way, okay? After you've done all these sets, you can go ahead now and do all of your dark 2 lights and your light dark 1s, same manner, okay? But just make sure that you're attaching them here in the proper order. And we'll stitch this. And once you have this whole set and this whole set stitched, you can go ahead and press your seams. And you want to alternate the way the seams are pressed on this set, okay? So I've made a note on your paperwork, but you're going to end up making a total of 72 of these groups of 4, okay? Now, half of those groups, all your seams need to go towards the point, and half of them need to go away from the point. And Buttons is going to make sure that I put those in the right direction, okay? So when you're pressing these, just pay attention to which direction you have your noses, okay? That's what I like to call them, your noses going. All right, so for these 2, I have ironed, and I'm going to go ahead now that I've got, so I have this group here, and I have this group here, okay? And right now I'm pointing my seams, I've pressed basically towards the tail. All right, so keep an eye on this when you're pressing these to make sure that you do half going one way and half going the other way. All right, so now I can take these 2 sets and stitch them together. And I want to press this one now so that all of my seams for this set are going all in the same direction. All right, so all of my seams have been pressed this direction. Now, like I said, half of them are going to be pressing this way and the other half are going to be pressing that way. It's going to be critical when we do our next clue, which is going to be putting the whole thing together into the finished quilt. So this is going to be pretty substantial with your pressing. That's the one thing I want you guys to really focus on with your piecing this week, is making sure this pressing is a 50-50, okay? So altogether, 72 of your flying geese units, and that's what you're doing with your blocks that you have already made this week. Now, on page 2 of your directions, you do have some more cutting. I don't want to hear, Heather, I don't have any more fabric, because you're going to do this from your scraps. Okay, I know you have fabric scraps left because I have fabric scraps left. See, this is all I have left of my fabrics, all right? So my light, my dark one. Oh, this is some scraps that were left from my mistake cuttings, my dark 2. Here's some other little pieces. So you guys should have some little bits of scraps that you can work with on this, okay? So what you are cutting from your light scraps, you're going to need 4 1.5 by 9 3/4 inch strips and 4 1.5 by 5.5 inch strips. From your dark 1, you're going to need 4 1.5 by 7 5/8 strips. And then from your dark 2 scrap, you're going to need to get 2 2.5 inch squares cut once on the diagonal. All right, so let's go grab those really quick and we'll be right back. Okay, so now I have my 7-inch triangle left from Clue 4. I have my 1.5 by 9 3/4 inch strip. I have my 1.5 by, oh my goodness, what is this? 7 5/8, 1.5 by 5.5, and my 3-inch cut once on the diagonal. So I got all that out of my scraps, and we're gonna go ahead and assemble this strip block, okay? We're gonna make a total of 4 of these. So this is a pretty easy process. If you guys have done foundation paper piecing before, you could do this in a foundation process, but if you're new to this, it's not the time to teach you now, okay? So this is why I'm showing you how to do it the old-fashioned way without the foundation, all right? So we're gonna start by taking our 7-inch triangle, and we are going to move all these out of the way here. Lay the 1.5 by 9 3/4 up along that edge. Now, if I flip it over here, you'll see that because we had taken these from 9 3/4 inch squares to start with, this edge is the same length as my strip of light. So we're going to go ahead and stitch 1/4 inch seam allowance here. And it's not really going to matter at this point which way you press these, because that may end up being tweaked a little bit in our final clue. So just to leave you on your toes, you guys can press this whichever way makes you happy. For the most part, it's probably going to be easiest to just press these all going towards this smaller piece, okay? So if we start here, we're just going to press towards our light. All right. The next trick is to fold this in half. Give this a little bit of a finger press. You can also put a pin right where that fold is. I've pressed it in half. Now I want to take my dark 1 strip. That's 1.5 by 7 5/8. I want to press that in half also. And now I want to line up that press that I made onto my light strip here. I'm just going to pin that on there so it doesn't wiggle away while I'm moving it here. We're going to go ahead and stitch the 1/4 inch. You don't have to start all the way at the top of the piece of light fabric there. You can go ahead and start just before this, and just go right off the end of there. Let's press towards our dark 1. We'll repeat that whole step of folding it in half, finding where the middle is. Put my pin there. All right, and we'll do this with our light strip here. All right, see, if I fold it with the wrong sides together, I can actually lay the right sides together, find that little half point there, and lay it out this way also. All right, so this guy, and of course you could chain piece these, do all 4 at once while you're sitting at your machine. So just have a little stack of them here next to you. We'll press towards our light again. And then the last step is going to be using our 3-inch half square triangle. Or I should say our 3-inch triangle, because we cut it out of a square. Fold that also there. And I'm going to put a pin on this one because it's got a bias edge there. I don't want it to get all stretched out while I'm stitching it. All right. And I'll go ahead and press towards my dark 2. Now we'll want to square this up to a 6.5-inch square. And how I'm going to do that is using my ruler. My 6.5-inch ruler has a diagonal line right across there. I'm going to line that up on the diagonal of the dark 2 triangle from clue 4. All right, that will be how I'm using my diagonal line to get a square out of this. And as you can see, this diagonal line now is giving me hardly anything left to cut off on these edges. And from my angle that I'm sitting at, it's really kind of hard to see how well lined up this is. But now all I'm going to do is cut off the excess on these sides. So I've got a rotating mat. I'm just going to turn it here, and I knocked it out of its base, but that's all right. Okay, I did that side. Now I can do this side, and there we go. There is my 6.5-inch strip square. All right, so that is what you guys have for homework this week. You've got 4 of these. You've got 20 of your old maid puzzles, and then you have 72 sets of flying geese strips. All right, we will talk to you next week. We'll be putting the whole thing together. This is almost over, but this is all the fabric cutting you had left. All right, at this point, if you don't have any more fabric left, it's okay. But everything that I had you cut this week, you should have been able to get out of your leftover scraps. All right, you guys have a great day. We'll talk to you later. Bye.